Okay, this is the way the orb cluster forms. What's happening is all those organisms you see flying around all over the screen, they really are organisms in the air. It's not pixels and it's not a camera problem. There's no flaw in the camera. It's not a bad setting and there's nothing wrong with the camera. Therefore, those are organisms floating around in the air, billions upon billions, an astronomical number. So these organisms rotate counterclockwise very, very fast, and they're rotating around the central nucleus point, and that point serves as a center of the nucleus for not just that little orb cluster that's glowing, but for an entire orb mass. As you can see, the organisms all around that glowing cluster are starting to rotate counterclockwise and rotate around that orb in a counterclockwise fashion, and they'll start getting faster and faster and faster, and the faster they go, the more organisms will go into the nucleus where that orb is, and they'll pack the nucleus in tighter and tighter and start glowing brighter and brighter, and the nucleus will become larger and larger because more organisms will join the nucleus. And as the nucleus grows, so does the cluster on the outside. More organisms that are in the surrounding air mass will join the cluster, or they are in the cluster already. They'll join the rotation around the nucleus, and therefore the whole thing will start spinning around and around until it starts to grow and glow. It'll grow larger and glow brighter, and then it'll turn into a large hexahedron cluster, and then it'll start to rise off the ground and through the air into the sky. And once it reaches the sky, it'll collect even more organisms. It'll collect organisms on the way up, going up into the sky, as well as when it gets up in the sky, it'll collect more organisms, because the sky is filled with these organisms. All the air mass of the earth is filled with these organisms. It is saturated. So what they are going to do then in the air up high, they will start glowing brighter and brighter and get larger and larger in the nucleus, and that will make the thing glow like a star. And when it gets to be about 10 miles high, it'll pretend that it is a star. And a lot of them do pretend that they're stars, and you can't tell a real star from these things because they glow just as bright as a star. So this is sort of like a miniature scale chain reaction taking shape right now, and it's all these orbs. They're very intelligent organisms. I believe that the orbs are part of one large organism that floats around in space like a big cloud or a mass, and then when it runs into a planet, being that it's intelligent, it either examines the life forms on the planet, maybe kills them and eats them. I don't know how they consume food or whatever they do, but I know they consume trees over here, birds and animals. I don't know what else they've eaten. They've eaten fish in the water and everything. So they've been consuming a lot of stuff right here on Earth. So it could be just doing that, or being that it's highly intelligent, it's a highly intelligent organism, it could be also doing other things. Be benevolent and all that, and teach a life form all kinds of things, because I believe these organisms know all kinds of things. I believe it's an ancient organism that's been around since the beginning of time. And I don't mean our time, I mean the time of the universe when it first started. And I think these are like the ancient organisms since then, and they've had a long time to get intelligent and to advance. So they do have technology, but I don't know how to use it. I know that they have what resembles technology, and they can create and manifest either organic matter or inorganic matter. They can make life forms. They can create them just by clustering together into any kind of a shape or a form, or organism, and they can also create an object just like that, just by clustering into a shape of an object. And they can imitate very well, so it's hard to tell the real thing from what they make. They make great holograms because there's so many of them in the air. They can create any kind of a hologram they want, and that's their whole advantage. There's so many of them, and being that there's so many, they can create any kind of a hologram to deceive any other organism that's trying to fight it to survive. Like us, for instance. It can trick us, deceive us, make us believe all kinds of things. And soon it's going to make us not be able to breathe because there's so many of them in the air. God, in this area alone, it's hard to breathe. Jeez. Oh boy. Anyway, there's so many of them that it's foggy now, even where I am, and there's no longer a clear day like we used to have. It's always foggy, one way or another. It's either thick fog or partially foggy, but it's foggy nonetheless. And it's really amazing how these things operate, how intelligent they are, and it's amazing that there's so many of them. I've never seen anything so numerous in my entire life as these things, and I didn't think there was anything in such great numbers as this thing. So I don't think it's many organisms. I think this is just one single huge organism that has engulfed the entire Earth in its grasp, and who knows what it's going to do. It doesn't look so good right now because it's the little orbs there and whatever, they appear like the wasps and things like that. They've been eating all kinds of things, like a lot of trees, a lot of birds, a lot of little animals and rodents and fish in the water and stuff like that. So they've been cleaning out everything, and they're going to affect the food chain because what they're doing is multiplying on the earth more and more, and there's more and more of them every day, and there's more and more of them every second, not just every day. And this is what's happening. The more they multiply, the thicker they get in the air. They saturate the air more and more, and they saturate the water, all the water, lakes, rivers, oceans, seas, everything. They saturate even the underground water because they get into that too. So there's no safe water. We ingest them in our food, we breathe them in the air, and we drink them in our water. And look what those things are doing. And they could do that in your body. There's nothing stopping them from doing that in your body. So the question is, what are those things going to do to us? I think this organism, whatever it is, it comes to Earth every now and then. It probably takes millennia for it to come to Earth, but when it does, it's disaster. And I don't see anything much good happening from this thing being on Earth, because I don't know, it hasn't done anything worthwhile talking about right now as of today. So I don't have anything to brag about the things that it's done. I've only seen bad things, and that's very depressing. And I'll tell you, it's getting too depressing to make these videos because look at this. This is no longer just a hobby or a matter of interest. This is serious. And I think we're in for big trouble, definitely. I just can't see anything good happening out of all of this. After I've seen the pictures from couple of days ago, 3 days ago. And I'll tell you, this stuff in the air is really there, and it's very thick. So we're just ingesting that stuff left and right every time we take a breath of air, or drink a glass of water, or eat anything, any fruit or vegetable, or even any animal, because the animals are ingesting it too. So look what it's doing. It could be doing that in your body. And what is it going to do to your body when it does that in your body? That's the question. See how fast the orbs are revolving around the nucleus? And they're going 360 by 360 by 360 counterclockwise in all directions, as long as it's counterclockwise. So right now they're drawing power from the power cable, because that's what they're on. So they're clustering and revolving around their nucleus right on the power line, and they're drawing power from the cable, because they can draw power from the electromagnetic energy around the cable, and it can draw power from the cable itself, the electricity that the cable delivers. So they're drawing all sorts of power from that cable. So this is an interdimensional entity, and it can subdivide itself into minute particles like you see on the screen, or it can collect them into a tight cluster like the one that's glowing. So it has the capacity and the capability of dispersing itself and collecting itself. So that's how it can make other forms and other organisms, because it can cluster into the shape and form of another organism, and then when it doesn't need that organism manifestation anymore, then it disperses its particles into almost like a cloud or a fog, like you see on the screen. So basically speaking, the organism can do both things. It can disperse itself, or it can collect itself very fast, and that's how it forms other organisms or other forms or other creatures. Any way you put it, other things than itself. That's what it does. So there's what it looks like from a farther away angle, and there it is from a far away shot, and it's right on the cable, and it's right on the cable. So they're drawing power from the cable company and from the power line, and they're drawing power from the electromagnetic fields surrounding the cable, and they can draw power from eating all the trees, and they can draw power from the sun, they can draw power from anything. I've seen them just draw power from everything, and they're all about energy, because that's what they are. It's an organism that's energy, basically. It can be matter, but it's basically energy. It only manifests itself in the states of matter when it has to, on different, let's say, planets, or in a solar system type setting, or even in a galactic setting. But when it's being itself, it's an organism of energy. So it can control energy and matter without any problem. It's highly intelligent. The organism is so intelligent, it's unbelievable. I've never seen anything that intelligent in my life. And it's very deceptive, and no one knows that it's here for those reasons, because it's so intelligent. and so deceptive about its presence that no one knows that it's here, even because people just refuse to believe that it's here. Because they see a little thing like that, they think nothing of it, but a little thing like that controls all that fog. That's the cluster right there. You see all the fog in that area? That's the nucleus of that fog right there. So that's how much power that little cluster has. It's like an atom bomb in the area. It has enough energy to drive all those particles around and around and around, counterclockwise, all day, all night, 24/7. And it's been doing that for years now. 4 years I've been filming this thing. So he's got a lot of energy, and it's just making more of itself. It's growing larger by the second. And it's really hard to breathe around here, especially around nighttime, because it is a living organism, and nighttime seems to be its peak activity, especially around dusk. Dusk and dawn are peak activity periods, and all those particles get excited, and then you can't breathe. And I think that's happened in many places where there was life on other planets. This organism just doesn't even have to do anything. It only has to reproduce to kill off every other species, because it'll cut off their oxygen. That's if the other species were breathing oxygen. But whatever they were breathing, this thing would fill up all their entire atmosphere and just kill them off because they weren't able to breathe. It can kill off any breathing organism just by reproduction alone. It doesn't have to do anything else. Just reproduce, and it can just choke off all the air supply to us, because the air will become so saturated it will plug up all your lungs, and you won't be able to breathe at all. And that's going to happen soon, because look at the rate that thing is reproducing at. Look at all those organisms. It's going to be very soon that there won't be any air. They'll be selling it in a bottle. And that's the next thing that's going to be happening. They'll be selling your air in a bottle, just like bottled water. You want to live and breathe for 5 minutes, you got to pay. And that's what's going to happen. And those are real organisms in the air. And I think they're all part of one large organism that's very intelligent. See how everything's starting to glow? That's because the cluster is getting larger. That whole tree is just these organisms. You see the whole tree glowing? And the whole tree will become a huge cluster. And that's what I'm talking about. When the organisms get excited, like around this time, that whole area is going to start glowing, and all that thing that's fog there, that's all just one organism. All the people denying the facts are going to have to believe it in the end, because they just won't be able to breathe, and period. That'll be that. So they'll believe it then, just before they drop dead. So this is really what's happening, and there's got to be a way to stop this thing from reproducing, and I think we need to make an attempt right now before it's too late, because if this gets out of hand any further, it's going to just choke us all up, and we won't be able to breathe at all. See how many organisms are in the air now? That's because they're coming off the water. The lake is right there, and they're in the water. They're coming out of the water and off the surface of the water, and they're coming off the trees. But look at all the organisms in that power line and all around it. They're in the air, and that's what we're breathing in. That there is what we're breathing in. And all those colors there, that's glowing organisms. That's not bad settings on the camera or anything. Okay, I'll show you that it's not the camera. Look, there's nothing wrong with the camera. It has perfect color, It's almost nighttime, but there's nothing wrong with the camera. The camera is in good shape, and it's brand new too. So it's not the camera. And look at all the clusters on the power line glowing. They're just all over. Okay, so whoever said that I'm full of it, then they're not stealing electricity. Check it out. You got 1, 2, 3, 4 of them to prove you're wrong. They are stealing electricity, and they're using it. And that's not the only place. They do it all over, even in your home. So there's the solid and perfect proof that that's exactly what's happening. Look. So this is a different one. That's yet another one. There's yet another one. So they do steal electricity. I wasn't kidding about that. And that's not the only thing they steal. So this one is still the biggest, but you have more. You have this one right there. And then you have this one right here. I don't know if there's any more. There might be another one. Just look at them all. Look at them all over here. That's right on the bridge, and that bridge has no lights. And those are closer to me, the big ones than the bottom. And they're on the tree. But it's these that are important right here. Look how they're sapping power from the power line. Right there. That's the important thing. They always go to where the power source is. And they do that to people, and they do that to animals, because they can get your biochemical energy that you produce, they can sap it out of you. Just like they do the sapping right now out of the power cable. They sap energy out of living organisms the same way, by just engulfing you and just taking all your energy without you even realizing it. So next time you're feeling tired, this is probably the reason. And this can really affect your immune system, because it can weaken it. By taking all your energy, your immune system becomes weak, and it leaves you susceptible to all kinds of other diseases and illnesses. So that's the way they do it, right out the power cables. And look at them all in the air. That's what you really got to look at. Look how many are in the air. Look at that one right on top of the other cable. There's one on top and one on the bottom of that cable. I'll try and get all three in. Get it down. So that's right on the power cables.